Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving our praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and to the apostle of Millstone, and enough respect to the brothers out there pushing and spreading the gospel of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai to the four corners of the world. Now, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, I just wanted to do a quick lesson on this article, which is entitled Our Last Russia-U.S. Treaty on Arms on Nuclear Arms set to expire, right? And I also have another one here which says the Israeli media reports the United States asked Israel to abstain from military action against Iran while talks are underway. All right, and all this to say, if you've been in this truth for a while, you understand why, Israel and Iran are a major player in the Battle of Armageddon, and you understand also why Russia and U.S. are also uh, are the most important characters in World War III, and you also understand the importance of nuclear weapons in all this madness. And so, um, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read the article and bring out some few precepts, and then Lord willing, this be edifying. This is going to be a very simple topic. And so, it says the last Russia-U.S. treaty on nuclear arms set to expire. Russia has said it no longer, right, that it is no longer bound by limits on the number of nuclear warheads it can deploy, as the last remaining atomic arms control treaty with the United States is set to expire. Moscow's comment on Wednesday came as the United Nations called the expiry of the New START treaty a grave moment for international peace and security. These Edomites out here, right? This devil, he likes to boast about how much in control he is of his destiny, but at the end of the day, he is still a coward. He is nothing before, the Almighty. He is a worm. He's less than a worm, right? He is beneath the ground. He is nothing. He has no ability to contend with the Lord. He wants to keep his kingdom, right? And then immediately, Psalms 2nd chapter, it comes into my mind. They want to free themselves from the destiny that the Lord has given unto them, but they simply can't. All right? They truly want peace. They really want peace and security, but why is it so difficult for them? Why can't they never agree on certain things? Why do they feel the need to have nuclear weapons when they know that it is their destruction? Why can't they simply, compromise rather than military incursions and excursions and crossing borders? Because it is his nature. And because it is the determination of the Lord that this empire does not continue forever, that it must fall so that Yahushai can take his place as King of Kings, right? As it talks about in the book of Daniel, the seventh chapter, that all kingdom, dominion, and glory was given unto him. But Esau wants to deprive Yahushai of that, which he can't. Okay, so you have the beast, right, being afraid, and they actually are urging Babylon. They are the ones who brought up this concern. It wasn't Russia, it wasn't America. They are the ones that are doing it because they're afraid. They're caught in the crossfire, and the scripture says that eventually they will actually, turn their back on Babylon because they are constantly the one who have to remind America to keep the peace, and they feel as though America is using them as cannon fodder, or that America has abandoned them, right? And so there it is, right? This is the situation right now. You see all the chaos that's going on. You see as Yahushua, as all the prophets predicted, the uproars. I mean, we're watching, and it gets clearer and clearer every day. There's never been a moment where we have to actually sit back. There's never been a news where we actually have to, step back and reevaluate if the prophecies were right. And no, man, fuck that. And this is a beautiful thing that the Lord is doing. So this is the treaty, which was signed in 2010, will expire on Thursday. Which, why the fuck would you even have an expiry date on a treaty like this? A treaty that literally, prevents World War III. A treaty that can literally destroy your entire kingdom in an hour. Which shows you that the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord. And like any river, he has turned it however he wants to, and he has turned it towards destruction. They can't do anything. They want to break free from the control of the Lord, right? Why are the nations so angry, right? Or frustrated? Why do they waste their time with futile plans? The kings of the earth prepare for battle. The rulers plot together against the Lord Yahweh and against his anointed one. Let us break their chains, they cry, and free ourselves from the slavery of the Most High. But the one who rules in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Then in anger he rebukes them, terrifying them with his fire, with his fierce fury. What is a rebuke? Hey, the rebuke is the lasers from the chariot. The scripture talks about at his rebuke, right? The same Psalms, the 18th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. Right. It says, he sent out his arrows and scattered them and shot out lightning. So, the weapons of his indignation, the missiles, and then shot out lightning and discomfort them. This the lasers from the chariot. Then the channels of the waters were seen, and the foundation of the world were discovered at thy rebuke. In other words, massive destruction. Rivers, okay, even the ocean is going to get dried up. A huge chunk of it at least, because even when it hit the coast, the waters are going to be what is going to get evaporated then, right? The foundation, that whatever underground bunker they have, whatever the subway systems, it doesn't matter how deep the foundation of your house is, it burned the surface of Esau's kingdom and even underneath it as well. And it says, O Yahweh, at the blast of the breath of thy nostrils and at thy rebuke. So that's the rebuke of the Lord. Eventually, the Lord is gonna what he gets angry and he rebukes them. Right? Same thing. Oh, not in Psalm second chapter. Right? So that's it on that. We're gonna read a little bit more on the rebuke, just to I'm just gonna highlight a certain point rather than go through the entire chapters. And so it says we assumed that the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the United States had not responded to President Vladimir Putin's proposal to keep observing the missile and warhead limits in the treaty for another 12 months. And the same thing happened with Iran when I think it's called the JOCPA or something like that, the JOCPA treaty, which was the same kind of nuclear agreement treaty. When it expired under Trump, they told him, they said, yo, man, you got to do something about it. They didn't listen. And then they turned around and dropped bombs on them because they think, or they I don't know, I'm whether they are or they're not, which we believe they are, right? They have it. They're gonna have to have it, right? And so then you attack them because of that issue. So Which is it? Do you want peace or do you want war? We assume that the parties to start the New START treaty are no longer bound by any obligation or symmetrical declaration within the context of the treaty, the ministry said. Essentially, our ideas are being deliberately ignored. This U.S. approach appears mistaken and regrettable, it said. The whole world hinges on Babylon. That's why the scripture says that once Babylon falls, Esau's kingdom falls. They are the pivotal point of heathen history and Israelite future. It all hinges on Babylon. Once Babylon falls, and so that's why everyone is always trying to, even though they hate Babylon, right? The idea isn't to have Babylon fall, but at least to tame Babylon, because if Babylon falls, they know the whole world will fall with it. Okay. Um, that's a bit more than that. It's just gonna give us a bit of history and why. This is as of January 2025, Russia had 4,309 nuclear warheads, and the United States had 3,700 warheads. France and the United Kingdom, who are treaty-bound U.S. allies, have 290 and 225 warheads each, while China has about 600. Whew. And this ain't even nothing. The scripture says we're 200 million. All right, so this isn't that number. It's way more than that. Let me see. The world now looks to the Russian Federation and the United States to translate words into actions. I urge both states to return to the negotiation table without delay and agree upon a successive framework that restores veritable limits, reduces risk, and strengthens our common security. Yep, so that's it on that. Now, of course, we know that the World War III won't start until the MOTB is mandated, and the Lord has made a significant progress as to that technology as well, and brothers have made a lot of videos on it. You know, as a matter of fact, that was actually what I was planning on doing a video on, and I don't know why I didn't remember to do it, but yeah, this is also a good article, and next time, maybe tomorrow, I'll do a video on that. So let's go into the precepts that I have lined up here. First off is Revelation chapter 9, verse 13, beginning with 13. And the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before God, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. This is very interesting. So before I go any further, I want to explain, why does the Lord have these angels at the great river Euphrates? What's going on there? What's going on there is that because it is the arena in which World War III will be fought, and from that battle, nations will say F it and start shooting missiles against Babylon. And so that is what they're doing in there. We're going to prove that with the book of Joel, second and third chapter. And so, yep. So the four angels, which are, in the great river Euphrates, bound doesn't mean they are in prison. It just means that they are charged with a task, right? To, keep things abated until the Lord gives the command. Then, you know, they allow the nations to go in there and and destroy themselves. So I have here the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 18. Oh, actually. All right, Joel chapter 2. Joel, the second chapter, deals with the missiles. It's very specific in describing the missiles, their appearance, all right, how they block out the sun, all right, how they what does it say? How they make the earth to shake. Where is it at? How the destruction they bring will never be repeated again from generation to generation. Come on, man. Okay, desolate wilderness. I've made so many videos about this chapter. I was obsessed with it at one point. I still am. And so, just want to get the point about them shaking the earth. Right. It says the earth quake before them, right? So this is talking about the missiles. With that being said, Joel chapter 2, when you jump down to verse 18, it says, Then will the Lord Yahweh be jealous for his land and pity his people. Yea, the Lord will answer and say unto his people, Behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil, and ye shall be satisfied therewith. And I will no more make you a reproach among the heathens. And this is what we're looking forward to, right? But I will remove far from off you the northern army, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, right? And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. So this mitzvah that we're reading about, it's also tied into an event that's going to happen in a land described as barren and desolate, and a land that has an utmost sea, right? A land that is caught up between two water bodies, right? Described here as the East Sea and the utmost sea. And in the East Sea is the let's look at that. Okay, should I just put the Valley of Jehoshaphat? Levant. Let me just put Levant. Okay, there it is. It's a little far off. I wanted a little better. Okay, so I wanted this to be named also, but yeah, let me just use this. No, no, I need Babylon, the rivers of Babylon with it. There it is. This is the perfect picture. Okay, so the utmost sea, the east, right? When you think of you know, north going up, south down, and then east and west, you just write the word we, W-E, right? So you know which is which. And the east will be this side, and so you see it's the Euphrates, right? So you see the Euphrates, and the utmost sea will be the Red Sea. And so World War III is going to be taking place in this region here, right? You're going to have people fighting in that land, right? And you have the scriptures reference, they shall come against the mountains of Israel, the land of Israel, right? You have others talk about Palestine being dissolved, okay? Ezekiel, the 39th chapter, talks about how there's going to be so much bodies that in order for us to get the land of Israel purified, we're going to have to employ the nations to come and dig up the bodies. And so this is the land. This land is very important. It is the source of great death, judgment, and the most devastating war to have ever been waged in the history of mankind. And so this is what the angel in the Euphrates is doing. He's calming that region. This region is it's very contentious. There's never been right? There's no area in this world in the world where so many nations have always clashed heads. This is like a battleground. This is like the Lord's threshing floor. Okay, and so back to Revelations, the ninth chapter, the angel, he's bound, but when he's loose, in other words, when he's given the order, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men, he will cause the destruction of Esau. Now, of course, other nations, the other heathens, will die as well. But when it emphasizes the third part of men, which is the sons of wicked, it means that Esau's empire goes down with that event. All right. So the third part of men, as you always say, when you go into the book of Genesis, or even the Torah, even tells you, you have the sons of God, the sons of men, and then the sons of the wicked. Okay. And the third part of men is the sons of the wicked. It's their kingdom that is going to go down. It's their rulership that's going to be taken away from them. And so they are the ones that are emphasized. That doesn't mean other heathens won't get put to death, right? In this conflict. And so this is what this angel is doing over there in a great river Euphrates. And the number of the army of the horsemen represents the missiles, were 200,000. Modern times you would say 2 million, 200 million, right? Because you just add three zeros, six zeros actually, three zeros for each thousand. And I heard the number of them, okay? And I saw the horses in a vision. So it describes the horses and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three were the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued forth out of their mouth. Joel, the second chapter. The same horseman says a great people, an army, and it says the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and then it tells you about the fire and how the land is as the Garden of Eden, beautiful, but then afterwards behind them a desolate wilderness, right? It's just a poetic way, and also a lack of the proper, terms, for ICBMs or missiles, nuclear missiles, things like that. Um, yep, for their powers in their mouth and in their tail. For their tails were like unto serpents, and they had heads, and with them they do hurt. Right? Scripture talks about Palestine. Let me see if I got the point on here. Yep. So again, the land that is barren and desolate, now you know the EC and the Upper Sea, and his stink, in other words, the army that get put up, that get put in that area to die, their stink shall come up. Okay? Let's do Isaiah the 14th chapter. I really hope I'm not rushing this. But is it 14? Isaiah the 14th chapter. Rejoice not thou, O Palestinian, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. Right? Because we're prophesying of the downfall of Esau, and you may have these heathens, because we have not been emphasizing them, they may think you're in a good case. But it says, rejoice not thou. For out of the serpent's root, in other words, out of his downfall, shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery, flying serpent. This is the missile. Okay? Same thing here. Their tails were like unto serpents, and their heads, and had heads, and with them do hurt. Well, if it's actually horsemen and people sitting on it, well, how come the strange, descriptions are given to it? It's talking about missiles. The scriptures is following one narrative, and you just have to put the puzzles together, and it'll make sense. Once you accept that it's one narrative, then everything else will fall into place, right? The Spirit of the Lord will deal with you. But as Scripture says that, the knowledge of the Lord comes through faith, right? So it all begins with faith, and then the Lord blesses, right? On top of that, which faith itself is also a gift. So, Tawadi Halba Shemir Shah for this privilege. So Joel chapter 3, verse 11, assemble yourself and come down, all ye heathen, and gather yourself together round about. Again, to emphasize the point that I made, that although it emphasizes third part of men, it emphasizes serpent, right? It emphasizes, Esau. All ye heathens, gather yourself together round about, to the cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. What is the valley of Jehoshaphat? The desolate area, right? The desolate between the east and the utmost sea, right? The land of Israel, Palestine, same thing. It's the same region, but used in different words. And Jehoshaphat just simply means the Most High's judgment, Yahweh's judgment. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about, right? Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. So what does that mean? Meaning when the time is right, there's going to be a massive death, right? Because the scripture calls the threshing floor. The scriptures use the threshing floor a lot of times as an analogy for the Lord's wrath, right? So the harvest is ripe. Yahushua even says the same thing, right? So put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fat overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decisions, for the day of the Lord Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened because of the smoke, and the stars shall withdraw their shining because of the smoke. Sometimes too, it also tells you that the moon, the stars fell. Okay, same thing. It's the same difference. So with that, I hope this is edifying. Shalom, Yah, Bashim, Shabra, Katham, Toya, Akims, and Aquifs that are listening in truth and sincerity. May the blessing of nation be upon the house. And until next time, Shalom.